Nuxt performances. So my name is Debbie O'Brien. I'm head of learning and developer advocate at nuxt.js. I'm a teacher at Vue School. I am an Auth0 ambassador, a Google developer expert, a Cloudinary media developer expert, a Microsoft most valuable professional, and a GitHub star. And you can follow me on Twitter at Debs_O'Brien. Okay, let's get the show started. What I'm going to cover Nuxt. I'm going to cover Webpack, and I'm going to cover Progressive Web App and a couple of other things. So let's have a look at the Nuxt performances that come out of the box. Now, what does out of the box mean? So out of the box means that basically you're getting it for free without having to actually do anything. It just works. It's like automatically, right? So you're getting code splitting. Code splitting means you're automatically splitting your code into smaller bundles. Imagine you had like all this JavaScript. You're not loading it all up front. You're only loading what is needed on the page that needs that JavaScript. Minified code. So the code is minified by default for you. So you don't have to worry about that. HTTP compression. So you're getting gzip. We serve gzip just by default. And etag, so web cache validation. So this is all done for you. You don't even have to worry about it. So let's look at a few things that Webpack gives us. Now I know you're all we love Vite and Vite, and it's all kind of like cool at the moment. I get you, I hear you. You've lost the love for Webpack. I know, I can see you in the chat. But trust me, there are reasons why we use Webpack. Webpack is amazing. Webpack 5 is super, super fast, and that is what we will be using in Nuxt 3 and what we use in Nuxt 2. And you will be able to use Vite as well, but Webpack is going to be used for the production builds. And just let me tell you a little bit about what Webpack does for you. Because most of you look at Webpack and think, oh my God, it's so scary, right? And I get you. But Nuxt does it all for you, so it's actually not scary. We're taking Webpack and we're doing all these really cool things for you so you don't have to. Let me show you. So we've got root-based chunks, we've got split chunks, we've got link preloading, we've got smart link prefetching, dynamic imports, magic components, magic comments, and bundle analyzer, all just specially done for you thanks to Webpack. So let's have a look a little bit about what they all mean. So root-based chunks. Now, what does root-based chunks mean? All pages have their own chunks. Their chunks means like the JavaScript, right? So every page has its own JavaScript. And you can see here in that diagram, the contact page has the JavaScript needed for the contact. The courses has what it needs for the courses, etc. This is just taken from my website. So yeah, everything is kind of like done in its own little chunk. And therefore, only that code is needed for that page to be loaded. Now, pages, when it comes to Nuxt, what we do is you just create a Vue file and you put it in the pages folder. Now, this is kind of like just magic because then out of the box, just automatically, we're going to create a router file for you. So you don't have to worry about anything. You just create the Vue file, put it in the pages folder, and Nuxt will do everything for you. Let me show you. This is the file it's going to create. Now, if you're used to working with Vue, you'll have created this many times. You'll have modified it, edited, added your roots, imported your roots, etc. And it's not that difficult, but it's work. And we don't want to make you have to do that. So we do that for you. So yeah, this is what is created for you. And you can always like check it out and look at it. It's in the .nux folder and you can see it and you can see how it works. But if you edit it, it doesn't get saved or anything because it gets rebuilt each time. So that's done for you, but that's how it works. And we even put like the import statement. So the dynamic imports for the lazy loading of roots, this is added in for you so that you don't have to do that. That import statement is done for you. And the same with the Webpack chunk name, right? So we actually create that chunk name for you so that in like the dev mode, you're able to see those instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 6, whatever, JS, and you don't know what's going on. You can actually see the name of the page. So you can see what pages are being loaded when, and you can see what chunks. So again, this is all done for you. You don't have to know or worry about it. I'm just showing you because it's just so cool. Now, when it comes to lazy loading components, I mean, you probably already know in Nuxt, we don't have to import components. You don't have to write an import statement. You don't have to write like components and import my component from my component and then write in there. It's done automatically for you. Just make sure components is set to true in the Nuxt config. But from Nuxt 3, it's just going to be like out of the box. You won't even have to have that in the Nuxt config. Now, how do you lazy load that component? Because you want to write that import, that magic import, that dynamic import, and you don't have an import. So how do you do that? Well, you just prefix it with the word lazy. So if you look at my component here, I'm prefixing with the word L-A-Z-Y, lazy. And I just put lazy my component, lazy modal, lazy footer, whatever it is, and bang, I've got lazy loading. That's cool. Now, obviously, don't lazy load all your components. You want to lazy load a modal or something that's got a loaded JavaScript that isn't really going to be needed unless a user clicks, like pop-ups and things like that. But yeah, really cool and really easy to do. Split chunks. So what we do is we prevent duplication by separating chunks into shared chunks. So we extract the common dependencies into an existing entry chunk or an entirely new chunk. And you can see here on the planets list, it's got that's chunk 1, and then the pages, the slug is using that chunk plus its chunk. And then the planet page is using the planets list component as well as its chunk. So this chunk, it's going to be downloaded once. And then when it goes to the page, it doesn't need to download that code again because it's already got it, because it's been shared and split into the chunk and then shared with those other pages. So that's kind of really cool. And script preloading. So as you can see, we're adding the as script and the defer. So any resources that are needed during the current navigation is going to be downloaded, preloaded for you. So that's done, again, out of the box without you having to add any of those. And we have smart link prefetching. So this is, again, a really cool feature of Nuxt, and it instructs the browser to prefetch in idle time. And what prefetching means is the JavaScript is already there and loaded. So when the user clicks on the page, it's like, bang, instant. It's just there. It's got it. Now, if you look in the diagram or the table here I've got from the dev tools, you can see that the high priority was everything that was needed for the page to load. And then you've got that low priority, which is the contact page, the courses page, the podcast page, because that's it was in the viewport and it was in a link at the very top. So Nuxt went ahead and went, the user is probably going to need this. They're probably going to click here. So I'm going to prefetch and I'm going to have it ready. So when the user clicks that link, bang, it's going to be instant. It's just incredible. So this is done for you. This is a mixture of Webpack and, well, it's kind of like Nuxt magic that's going on here. It's a smart link prefetching. And you can see it here, right? All these, the one on the left is without it, and the one on the right, or depending on what way you're looking at the screen, the left and right, but you know what I mean. So yeah, you can see that how instant it is, right? That when they're clicking, the page is there because it's already being prefetched. It's already got all that JavaScript ready, so it doesn't need to take that just a second to load. It's just bang, got you there, ready. So that's done all for you. Just make sure you're using the Nuxt link tag, of course. And of course, analyze your bundle. Now, this is something with Webpack that is really, really cool, and it's built into Nuxt, right? So all you've got to do is run yarn build -- analyze, or yarn build -a if you want to do a short version. And then you can open up this in your browser and you can look at what's going on. Now, you might look at this and say, yeah, that's just a nice lot of colorful boxes. Very cool. What am I going to do with that? But what you need to do is really kind of analyze it. I mean, that's why it's called the analyzer, right? And if you look at something, you just looking at this, I can say purify.js. What's that, right? It's coming from this dumpify thing. Am I even using that? And then I remember, oh my gosh, I added that into my project 6 months ago, and I'm not using it. And it's still in my, in my app now because I just forgot to remove the dev dependency. So I can now see that and I can do something about it. So analyzing is a way of making sure that you know what's going on in your code, you know what you're loading. And believe me, I've seen so many of these when I've analyzed Moment.js, all the languages under the sun, bang, just there. So yeah, do analyze it, check everything and check what's going on, because you can seriously start deleting stuff out of your application, and you can just know what's going on. So yeah, yarn build -- analyze, really cool feature. So let's move in to some Nuxt performances modules that we have. So we've got a progressive web app, PWA, with a single install, really simple to just get up and running. And if you've ever worked with progressive web apps or built one, you know, it's a bit of work, and we just kind of do it for you. Very cool. Google Font Loader. So if you're using Google Fonts, which most of us are, this is just going to load your fonts for you really easily. So really cool. Nuxt image. Oh, I'm so excited for this one. This is oh my God, this is just out. It's just incredible. And we'll look at that a little bit deeper in a minute. And then AMP. So Google AMP, you're probably going, what the hell is Google AMP? Well, it's just one of those cool things that Google do to get better performance. And we'll take a quick look at that as well. So what's next? The PWA. Let's look at the progressive web app and what it means. The progressive web app allows your Nuxt app to be installed by anyone, anywhere, on any device. That's kind of cool. So what it does is the module registers a service worker for offline caching, and you can see in the dev tools, you can actually inspect it and see the service worker that's going on, and it's working behind the scenes for you. And you get an app.manifest, and this is automatically generated. So it generates this manifest.json. You can actually click that link at the top and it will open it up in JSON format. Or you can just read like the UI part where they've put in the short name is nuxt.js.org, the start URL, the theme color. Now I added in the theme color because I wanted that lovely green, and you might want purple or red or whatever. The background color for your progressive web app. And you can play around with quite a lot of things. Just check out the docs for more information on how to add those. And it's going to automatically generate an app icon with different sizes for you. Now, this is really cool. So what you need to do is create a 512 pixels by 512 pixels and call it icon.png, put it in your static folder, and then it's just going to magically create all these. And you can look in the Chrome DevTools and you can actually see all the image sizes that are done for you. And again, just automatically done for you, just one image. You put one image and we do the rest. Love it. What else? Lighthouse test passes. This is the most important thing. So this is the Lighthouse test actually taken from Lighthouse 7. Now, Lighthouse 7 will be out, I think, sometime in March, but you can actually use it in Google Canary. So if you're using Chrome Canary, you'll be able to see Lighthouse 7. If not, you'll be seeing Lighthouse 6. The main differences are in the progressive web app category. In Lighthouse 7, there's only 2 categories. In Lighthouse 6, there are 3 categories. You can see there's only 2. Installable and PWA optimized. So what we want to do is make sure, and we've checked out the module works on Lighthouse 6 and Lighthouse 7, and you're getting all test passes. The only thing you're going to have to do manually is add in your theme color, because the DevTools requires it, and we don't want to just create whatever theme color and have everyone have the same one. So just add in the theme color yourself, and then you'll be able to get that full score. And always check that it's got that green tick, right? Sometimes people see the plus and go, yay, I've got progressive web app. It means you've got the installable one, but you haven't got the optimized one, perhaps. So do kind of scroll down, have a look at that, and make sure you're getting that green tick for your Lighthouse tests. And that's the progressive web app. Now, what can you do with a progressive web app? Besides the fact that it works, it gives you much better offline support. So when you're kind of I know we're not really offline these days. We're living online all the time. We barely leave the house. We don't get on planes or trains or anything like this. So you're probably thinking, what's the point? But my internet goes really bad sometimes because I think all the neighbors are watching TV at the one time or something. So, if you're kind of losing internet at whatever time, you're not even going to notice because it's just going to give you the website or the application. And another thing you can do is install it onto your desktop. Now you're probably thinking again, why would I want to install my website on my desktop? And maybe you're right, but it's kind of cool because what I do is I install the nuxt.js website on my desktop. Now I could be writing something down and then I just need to open the docs, and instead of having to click and find things, I basically just ask. I'm not going to say it out loud because then strange things will happen to my computer. But if I was to say in the proper voice I normally say it, hey, and then I say Siri, yeah, what it will do is I just say open nuxt.js, and then nuxt.js just opens and it's just there on my computer. So it's really cool. I'm not going to show you a demo because seriously, it'll just take over the whole talk. But yeah, basically you can just open your application really quickly, really easily. And it's like an application. So it's really easy to use. It's on your desktop and it's getting all that content from the service workers coming and going. So yeah, really cool way of using progressive web app, and just do it for fun. Just download your website as a PWA and just use Siri and and see what happens. Moving on, Google Fonts. So with Google Fonts, you can add DNS prefetch, pre-connect, and preload. What does that mean? So remember that Google Fonts lives somewhere else, right? They're in another cloud somewhere. So it's another DNS that it has to go to. So what we do in this module is we will prefetch that DNS. So we'll go ahead and say, Google, hey, I need something from you. I'm just going to connect. I'm going to it's kind of picking up the telephone and saying dialing, right? You're going to connect, and then it's going to basically preload. It's going to start getting that font ready. So the moment it needs the font, it's bam, instant, almost instant. So that's how Google Fonts work. Really cool. And you can add things like swap and all the other things that go with the fonts to make them more performant. So AMP, I talked briefly about AMP, and what is AMP? It's accelerated mobile pages. It's like a web component framework to easily create user-first experiences. So it's actually quite funny because it's no JavaScript at all. So it's using a JavaScript framework to add AMP. that uses no JavaScript. But yes, basically you can easily add AMP pages, and you can just like create a page. And it's kind of like it loads really, really fast because there is no JavaScript. It's kind of, you'll be creating a page specifically for the AMP. So when it like loads that AMP page, and then like, it loads the other page when you want that other page, right? But it's really good for things like e-commerce and for any kind of like marketing or news websites have used them a lot. It's definitely worth checking out and playing around with, especially if you really care about performance. This is going to load like just loads, just like bang there. It's really cool. So the moment you've all been waiting for, Nuxt image. Oh my gosh, it is amazing. Nuxt image is just out, like now, I don't know, just out. Lazy loading, full static support, CDN support, and generate responsive images. And it's as simple as nuxt-img and then add your source, or nuxt-picture and add your source. Obviously, the Nuxt image is the same as the image tag from HTML, and the Nuxt picture is the same as the picture tag from HTML. Let's see what we're doing though behind the scenes, what you're going to get. So with Nuxt image, you can have presets. Now this is really cool. So you can kind of say the preset I want is JPEG cover, and that I'm going to use across many components and pages. So I don't want to like keep creating those presets. Keep creating those. So I create the preset, I predefine it, and then I just use it very easily. So this is really cool. Other things you can do is fit cover, fit fill, and there's other kind of ones for fit, and it like specifies the image, the size of the image. Yeah, if you want it to cover or to fill or whatever. Loading lazy, obviously lazy loading, very important for your images. So yeah, you're just going to get that. It's actually by default, but you could turn it off if you wanted to, so that's also possible. Format, WebP, you can serve the images in a specific format, which is just great. Quality, you can reduce the quality of the image. Maybe you want to target mobiles, and you don't want that image to be like that massive 100% quality image. We'll make it 80, make it less, or whatever. And prevent layout shifting. Again, really, really important, especially when you're working with performance. It sets the size of the image based on the aspect ratio, and then you don't have that layout shifting of the page, right? And you can use it with your favorite provider. Now, obviously, my favorite provider is Cloudinary, as you all know. And I can basically just say Nuxt image provider equals Cloudinary. And then I can use my Cloudinary image. So this source of main.png is going to come from Cloudinary and not from my static folder. I can add my width and height, and then I can add my specific Cloudinary modifiers, because Cloudinary gives me more than what the Nuxt image is going to give. It's going to give me a few extra things that I want to use, like a round corner, etc. And obviously in my Nuxt config, I will have set the base URL for Cloudinary, right? So it knows, obviously it's not just getting main PNG, it's going to Debbie's cloud or whatever, in cloudinary.debbie's cloud, and it's going to get that image. So yeah, it's really easy to set up. You just like put in the base URL for Cloudinary and then provider Cloudinary. Super cool. There are other providers, of course, and you can check the documentation for your favorite provider and use that one instead. I highly encourage you to check out Cloudinary there. Nuxt picture. So Nuxt picture does everything that Nuxt image does, but just with a little bit extra. Obviously, it's the same as the picture tag from HTML. So it creates more HTML, right? It gives you a div, it gives you a picture, the source of source set, the image source, and the picture, right? That's what it's going to give you. And you can, you can check it out. You can actually just like create the Nuxt image, create the Nuxt picture, and then inspect the dev code, and you can actually see what it's creating for you. And the Nuxt picture is great. It's going to give you a placeholder. So it's going to give a small, low quality image for when the image is loading. And obviously you can choose the format, WebP, AVIF, this serve modern format, etc. And everything else that the Nuxt image is giving you. When would you use one over the other? Remember that picture is going to give you extra HTML. So if you've got probably a list of loads of images, Nuxt images is a lot lighter, but it depends on your use case. Just think about, in HTML, what would you use? Would you use an image or would you use a picture? And that's basically the same scenario. So yeah, this one is out, image.nuxt.js.org, and it's really, really, really cool. I highly encourage you to check it out and start using it in your projects. I know you're going to love it, and it's going to really help your performance, because images are one of those things that just like, are so heavy on the internet. So Nuxt image to the rescue. So basically, yes, I want you to be performant, and I really want you to be Nuxt. I really hope that you all leave this talk, you go home. Well, you're probably at home, I know. sounds better, but you go home and you start playing around with Nuxt and playing around with all the cool things and see if you're going to get 100 on performance in your site, because I've got it, you should get it. It's really easy to do, and we do make it as easy as possible so you can be as performant as possible. One of our favorite websites that is one that is using Nuxt is NASA, and NASA have found Nuxt so performant that they're using it. So that's kind of really pretty incredible to see websites and companies like NASA using Nuxt. So yes, if they believe in us, incredible, love it. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. You can follow me on Twitter, Debs_O'Brien, on LinkedIn, Debbie O'Brien, and I have a YouTube channel where I'm constantly sharing videos and live streaming of Nuxt. So if you want to learn more about Nuxt, do follow me and chat to me on Twitter. I'm always there. I live on Twitter. That's my new home. You can't go anywhere else these days except for Twitter. That's the way it is. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the talk. And yes, be Nuxt. Thanks. Bye.